Hello, everyone, and welcome to a brand new episode of the Need to Nerd podcast. I am your host, Spencer, and I am joined by a man who literally can jump on a scarab to take it down, Wes Singleton.
I mean, there was a lot of years where it was the friend I was playing Halo with who did that work while I was the one dying on the ground, but I'm glad that I've progressed to being the new evolved combat unit.
You know, luckily we got to replay that where I got to take down a scarab, with rocket launchers because it never walked close enough for you to jump off of the...
Actually, I did try and jump off it. Somehow I got weird walled off of it, like some weird deflection. But also, you say you're the one who took it down. You're merely the one who stopped it. You didn't make it explode.
You know what? That is true. Matt jumped on there and is actually the one that killed it. I just happened to make it...
Also not Matt.
Oh.
I called my explosion the second time.
There you go.
I killed Spencer and Matt the first time, everyone.
That's true.
It was great.
That's true. Well, maybe we'll talk about Halo today. We probably will. We're here to talk about nostalgia and gaming. And we'll get a little bit more into the main topic and that after some housekeeping. Because last week West had to do the housekeeping because I wasn't looking at show notes. This week I haven't pulled it up. It's cool, Wes. We have a Magic event in our Discord on February 27th.
Is our house named Discord?
It is right now. We have
I live on Discord.
$250 cash for a free event for Magic the Gathering. All you have to do to join that event is just be a part of the Discord. Everyone's eligible except for me because I'm the TO. So, Wes, I hope to see you there. And I hope that you beat some people to, take my money from me, Wes. You deserve it.
I don't know if I've ever felt more not going to pull my weight in a Magic tournament than I would right now, unless you told me it was a limited tournament. I'm so not a constructed player right now.
It is standard, but it is 2 weeks after the new set comes out, so nobody will know what's going on.
Excellent. So my deck is going to be even worse than it would have been otherwise.
Exactly. But if you want to contribute to the podcast outside of just participating in our Magic event and participating in our Discord, head over to patreon.com/HeezyGameMedia. Anything is appreciated. Support your creators, as I like to say. And honestly, I don't have a job right now, so if you wanted to, just drop a little in the bucket, it'd be greatly appreciated. Yeah, that's kind of it for the housekeeping. Today we're going to talk about nostalgic gaming. And we've talked about similar things in this space a little bit when we talked about our need to nerd in gaming, but I want to dive deep into very specifically nostalgia in gaming. And I do this in a lot of my podcasts. I'm going to read the definition of nostalgia. It is a sentimental longing or wistful affection for the past, typically for a period or place with happy personal associations.
Yeah, like the Lavender Town song. Happy. Absolutely.
I actually don't like that music.
Well, it's definitely something I'm nostalgic for, and it doesn't make me happy.
Yeah, I was going to say. I actually really don't like that music. You said that, and my chest hurt a little bit. First of all, you leave that cave the first time as a child, just crawling. We'll get into this. Anyway, I have some notes here about this, and West, it's funny because you filled in part of this, and I wanted to have just an open discussion, because I believe the things that I'm about to say, which is why are games so much more nostalgic than maybe other mediums can be? Do you believe that's true?
Yeah, and I think it's actually pretty clear. The answer I gave is part of it, but it's because, absolutely, your mileage might vary. You might feel way more nostalgic about books or television than you do about video games.
Sure.
But I think that the reason that video games absolutely capture that nostalgia for us and for people like us is that they're immersive, right? Like you are in a place with a feel, a sound, a location, right? Interacting with other characters, not just as reading what they're saying, but also like straight up influencing how they're saying it. And I think that's a huge part of it, right? Video games have this complete package of experience and buy-in, right? Books are you have to imagine it in your head, right, as you're reading. And like movies and TV, they do a lot of the same, like visual effects, musical scores we'll remember forever, right? But they don't have that interactive piece, that part where you're putting yourself into it. And I think that's a huge part of it, is you're learning and growing while you're participating on this experience. And that's a huge part about what brings us to nostalgia.
I agree with everything you just said. And I'd like to add a couple of things to it. The first is that gaming pulls in a lot of the things that we're nostalgic about across other mediums. So a really good example of this, I mean, you mentioned music from Lavender Town. Not the example that I would use.
I mean, if I was really going to do it, I was going to say Pokemon Center, right? Like that's
absolutely.
the real choice right there. But
I do think that music, that's pretty huge in gaming. How much music influences the feeling that you feel when you enter a room, when you are the one entering the room in a video game, is pretty big. And the other thing is it takes things from other mediums, right? Like, I remember playing the Spider-Man video games. I remember playing, obviously, we'll get into Star Wars video games. And it's able to take elements from other things, but give you some of that direction. The other thing that I would add to what you said is, I'm not saying that you, the listener, doesn't get the most nostalgia from watching Fellowship of the Ring or Return of the King, or or watching Star Wars, or watching an episode of Yu-Gi-Oh! Whatever that thing is, maybe that's the thing that gives you the most nostalgia.
Spencer is really just vibing his own feelings here.
I did try to watch Yu-Gi-Oh! By the way, and it's really bad. Anyway, but at the same time,
you're not wrong.
At the same time, I think that, like, if you're a Yu-Gi-Oh player, you also remember and have some nostalgia for playing Forbidden Memories for the first time. Or if you're a Star Wars fan, you have nostalgia for the first time that you put in Shadows of the Empire into your 64 and took down, those ATSTs and AT-ATs. If you're, a Pokemon TV show fan, I guarantee you have nostalgia about your times battling the Elite Four and your times doing those things. And I think that that's the thing, is that video games do such a good job of taking mediums that we love and putting ourselves in them, and also telling really amazing original stories that then we want books about, that then we want TV shows about, that then we want those characters to be put into other mediums. I think video games just do a really great job of that.
Subtweeting The Witcher right there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, listen, I am still playing The Witcher 3, but I'm way more excited to watch the Witcher TV show than I would be for a Witcher 4 game. That's all I'm saying. I think that, like, for me, there are certain things that do it, right? Listening to John Williams, scores is the most nostalgia thing in the world for me. Just hands down.
Oh yeah, even if it's one you've never heard before.
Like, whether it's watching the Willow movie, whether it's watching Star Wars, straight up, I'm not gonna lie.
Jurassic Park.
Yes, just the whole thing. That's it. That brings me nostalgia in a way that other things don't. But I think video games do a better job overall of bringing nostalgia for me. Anything you want to add to kind of this before we move on?
I think it's like impossible to overstate how important music is to this. Like, I really think that when I think through how you can put me directly back in a feeling of nostalgia for a game I played, it's like 3 bars of like the most quintessential song of that, and that's it. You have me.
I think about that a lot with like dun, 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 dun. Like I don't it's just so easy. Or
The Mario one, yeah, for sure, right? Like, or the cave music, or right? Like, it's
funny because when you put this in there, I literally heard dun 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 dun, and people are listening and they're like, man, Spencer should keep podcasting and not sing. But like all of these games, it's so weird. I always thought it was so weird when people listen to gaming music while doing other activities. But as somebody that has terrible anxiety, I now understand it. Like listening to some of the music that happens when good parts of a video game happen and the happy parts of a video game happen make you feel inspired and accomplished.
Yeah, oh, for sure.
So, I agree with you.
And like I think it's even more than that, which is that when you're playing the video game, right, that music is just always there, right? It's like you might have the sound off for some amount of time, right? We've all been stuck in that long car drive with our Game Boys, and our family's like, just turn that sound off, finally, please. But like, it's there enough that like, and it's not what you're actively thinking about, right? You might say, oh, this game is a great soundtrack, right? But like when you're playing the game as a kid, you're not super thinking about that sound at the time, but it's getting in your head, right? Music has a way of affecting our memory that I think is pretty unparalleled. Smell might be better, but we can't smell video games, so like that won't get us there. But
yet,
what we hear in music, there's a lot of like dead bodies in video games. Those don't.
Hey man,
smell
I'm not
good.
saying it'll be great. I'm just saying yet.
Sure.
There's
VR now with smell-o-vision.
Dude, have you not read Ready Player One?
I have.
There's literally a part in that book where you can buy the thing that lets you smell your surroundings, but people will specifically code in bad smells to troll people. So anyway, well, that was funny. Let's move on. Let's talk about systems that give us nostalgia. And I knew we would have the same answer here, West. I knew it.
Oh yeah. Also, your answers all just showed up now.
Oh, did they? That's good. That's good that Google Docs is finally catching up to the reality that we're in. But it's funny because I didn't put that as far as I remember. I remember putting Game Boy SP. Because the Game Boy SP is specifically the one that I have the most nostalgia for. And that's not to say like I didn't love my Game Boy.
Yeah, I mean I had the same system. It's just like the difference between like the original Xbox 360, the white one that read Rings of Death versus like a later model of it, right? Like that's the difference we're talking about here, right? They're the GBA still, right? It does that.
And I loved my GBA, but I didn't like having to put that light connected to the thing and put the light over the screen. There was some like
backlight was huge.
That first time that I flicked that power, what is that called? Switch? It's a power switch.
Power switch?
Yeah, and you just get that ding, and it like goes across the screen. It's funny too.
See, sound is the nostalgia.
I actually have a huge.
And the color was enhanced.
While we're doing this, because I don't want to forget this later in the episode, I have a huge complaint with the Nintendo Switch. Like I remember specifically.
No sound when you turn it on.
No, well, that is not true the first time you turn it on. The very first time you turn on your Nintendo Switch, it does the Nintendo Switch logo and it does that click. And it doesn't do that any more times. And it really bugs me. Because the first time that I turned on my Nintendo Switch and it did that, it did that and it did the sound, and like I knew, and it was the sound that I had just heard while putting in my Joy-Con that I just put in. I was like, oh my gosh, this reminds me of the first time I turned on my Game Boy SP. I love this so much and was so happy.
While we're talking about sound and turning on our devices, you know what is a more iconic sound than turning on your Game Boy Advance? Turning on your GameCube.
I didn't have one.
What an experience! Oh, Spencer, you're missing out.
I know
I
I
can't
know
do
the
it perfectly,
sound.
but
I know the sound, and I mean it's a
that's
meme,
ingrained
right?
in my memory. That lives rent free in my head forever.
It really bugs me that the Switch has that capability to do that the first time you turn it on, and it only does it once. I got so mad the second time I turned on my Switch. I was like,
I'm shocked every time my Apple computer does a hard reboot, because only after an update does it do the sound,
yeah.
the classic 1980s turning your Apple on sound, right? Right, mine just doesn't do that anymore. Our devices are too often off, but really just asleep these days. It's a shame.
What about the Game Boy Advance do you think gives us these feels?
Hours.
I don't know.
I mean, it had the Game Boy Advance SP was one of those systems that did this incredible thing, right? It took the handheld idea to an incredible new level, right? In that it was this this compressible thing, right? I think that the folding bit of it actually was really important because it meant that it was a very tiny little thing, right? It had a backlight. It was backwards compatible. And I think all of that added up to this feeling of just okay, I have it all in my pocket.
Yeah. I beat Pokemon Sapphire on the SP. I beat Dragon Ball Z Legacy of Goku, Dragon Ball Z Boost Fury on the SP. I beat old games on the SP. The first time I ever beat Pokemon trading card game for the Game Boy Color was on the SP. I beat,
which is an incredible game, by the way.
Oh, it's so good. Holy crap.
If you want to experience, right, so there's been a recent Pokemon craze of playing old Pokemon, right, and enjoying old Pokemon cards, which is sweet. And right, playing
to be
paper
fair
Pokemon
though, you can play as many trainer cards as you want in a turn in that game, and it busts that game wide open.
Well, I mean, that's true of original Pokemon trading card game.
Oh, they didn't have. Oh, that's right. They didn't have supporter or item back.
Yeah. Supporter didn't exist, right? I mean, it was straight up the game imported into a digital platform, right?
Yeah.
And it was it was pretty true to that experience. I don't think there was I never got to battle my friend with their deck. That would have been sweet, but check it out a ROM of that game. You'll play for 30 minutes and you're going to be doing some real busted card game stuff in that game for sure.
It's just yeah, I agree. But
Bill Oak, let's go. Draw all your cards.
Yeah, that game is sick. Man, energy remover. It's a good thing I played Magic the Gathering because I learned how freaking busted,
mana destruction.
Yeah, mana destruction is. Anyway,
especially when you can just dump your hand every turn.
Yeah, it's just busted. The thing is I completed Zoid's Legacy, just actually one of my. Actually, you know what? I might have put more hours into Zoid's Legacy and Pokemon Sapphire than maybe the rest of all of the games I played on that thing combined. Fire Emblem Sacred Stones I played on that thing. The SP. Here's the thing. I think a lot of this is true for a lot of kids. That we had a Nintendo 64, we had an Xbox, we had a Wii, we had a Super Nintendo, we had whatever it was. But I had a Game Boy SP. If that makes sense.
That's so true. That's so true.
I had a Game Boy SP. It was mine. If I wanted to save up my allowance and buy me a game for my SP, I could do that. And that's a big deal. That's a game changer. It was if I wanted to play the 64, I either had to wait my turn or do it when somebody else wasn't playing. But if I wanted to just go lay
or play multiplayer or
lay on my couch and do that, I could just do that on my SP. And I don't know, that was the first. It was a real feeling of freedom that I think that handheld gaming already does, but the SP for me did it even more.
Sure. I mean, I guess my experiences were a little bit different than yours on this matter because for me, the first console I ever had was the Game Boy. Was a Game Boy Color. Like I didn't have a console until I was like 15, and it was a GameCube, right? Way after the time of it did I manage to finally convince my parents to let me have a console. And so but when I had the Game Boy Color, I think it was that I got like a Game Boy Advance, and it was super exciting because it was also late. My parents really sandbagged video games my whole life. It's a concept I've talked to before on this show, but as soon as I got that Game Boy Advance, I have a younger sister, and I had to, immediately there was like scuffles over the I versus we of that one, because my parents definitely bought it thinking it was going to be more of a both of them type of thing, right? But handhelds just aren't like that, right? You can't really have that both mentality from it, especially because most games you can't have 2 save files on in all of this. And so not 4 months later, my sister is given for her birthday the Game Boy Advance SP Costco bundle that they were selling at the time, right when this was coming out, and I was livid.
Did you buy your first SP, or did you actually get one?
No, I eventually got one, but this was not until close to a year after my sister had one.
I would be so jealous. How are you still mad about this? You're an adult, West. It's so funny too, because I have huge nostalgia for the Game Boy Color, but the problem with being super nostalgic for the Game Boy Color is all that same nostalgia lives in the Game Boy Advance for me. I'm able to.
Yeah, that's for sure a part of it.
I'm able to I played Pokemon Yellow again on my SP. I had my Pokemon Blue that I played. To be fair, though, it was really hard to play Pokemon Blue again because I actually got all 150 Pokemon, level 100, all of them. So I couldn't play Blue after a while. But I played Pokemon Yellow. I played Pokemon Gold, which is the copy that I had.
Yeah.
I got to play my brother's Crystal on there. I don't know. The thing is that my little brother had his own Game Boy Color. My sister had her own Game Boy Color. I had my own Game Boy Color. Once we got older, I had my own Game Boy Advanced, and then eventually one Christmas, I had my own Game Boy SP. My brother had his own Game Boy SP. Yeah, it sounds like the similarity here is that it both represented basically the freedom to game for us. And you know what's funny is I bet there's so many kids that their tablet represents that for them, or maybe they got a Switch or a DS from their parents, and I think that's awesome. I think that one thing that I think nostalgia does for a lot of people is it creates gatekeeping, and for me it doesn't do that. My son loves playing on his tablet, and I don't fault him for loving to play on his tablet. Yeah, my wife loves playing on her.
I mean,
what?
I can't tell you I'm not going to give my kid Crystal as their first game.
Sure. Crystal's a great game.
Put my game and a Pokemon Crystal in their hands. I can't tell you that that's not going to be my truth if I can get it. I'm going to be yeah, you can wait. You can go through the same problems I had. You get to play. You get to start at the early history of video games, and then some point you can come to 4K with us.
I think that my son's first Pokemon game will be X and Y for what it's worth. Just so that he just because he has a DS already, and I don't think that Diamond and Pearl is the best place to start. So
also the fact that you can get the original 3 starters in that game is a really fun place to go for kids, because I think that even in 10 years, right, they'll still be some of the most known Pokemon.
Oh yeah, and he already loves. You get a free Pikachu in that game. You get a free, or maybe that's that one, right? Or maybe that's Ruby and Sapphire. Anyway, you get a. He loves Greninja. He loves Charizard. He'll love it. Let's talk. Let's move on from the system and let's talk about what's that?
He's a little Smash guy.
Yeah, he loves. He's getting better, dude. He's getting better at Smash. Right now, for his DS, he owns Mario Kart 7 and Super Smash Bros. For the 3DS. So, is there a genre or style of game that really brings out those feels for you? I'll go first here. It's pretty easy for me. a real good RPG or turn-based game that's either story-driven or has those things really does it for me. Like, I think about like games that I've loved over the last few years, and all of them kind of fall into that category. Whether it's Three Houses, whether it's Breath of the Wild, whether that one's not story driven, I still loved it. And we'll get into some of like the ones that kind of brought back those feelings for me. But I think that like the genre for me is typically a good turn-based game or a good RPG.
Oh yeah, I think that like character dialogue is just so important for this, right? Like characters talking to each other. Like I was thinking back for what newer stuff like really just like puts me in that like nostalgic feeling of like, oh yeah, these are the good old days. And it was the memory cutscenes from Breath of the Wild. Right? Sure, that game is not story driven on its face. You can totally ignore the story if you want, but if you're going to go digging, the story behind the current situation is pretty deep. And as you like bring out those cutscenes, right, each brings you like back into the world before it got ruined, and like layers on a very obviously nostalgic feel to it, and it works. Like, and like those like conversations the characters have when they're like still carefree and kind of like figuring out what they want in life is all really like just brings me to that place of just like, oh yeah, I want to go now climb this next hill to go save Zelda or whatever.
Are there any like older games that bring back those feels for you? You just every time you play them, it's just like, yeah.
Oh, for sure. I mean, Melee does that for me. Any Mario Kart game will bring me into that sort of space. Obviously, all Pokemon games have that feeling for me.
Sure.
Like the fact that they all share at least like a common set of music, whether or not it's like new riffs on it, right? It still has enough looping back into the old themes that'll really get me there. Like all those sorts of things will bring just a ton of nostalgia my way. Oregon Trail, oh, that's a nostalgic game right there.
I know. I played Oregon Trail only at school, and I don't have a lot of nostalgia for that.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. But been playing my new D&D game with our friend Casey. Has a little bit of an Oregon Trail feel to it, and we joke about that pretty regularly.
You put here, by the way, Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Explorers.
Is that what we're on?
Yeah.
Oh, we're on to the... Okay, we're moving on to the next question. I see what games I see. For some reason, I thought that was a further question of the previous one, not a full-on new segment.
I just wanted to make sure that I gave you the chance.
You're right. That is the game where, like... Ooh. So, yeah, Pokemon Mystery Dungeon, Explorers of Time, Explorers of Sky... I've never played Explorers of Darkness, but obviously it's very similar to the other ones. But, like... just to be like standing on that beach at sunset, talking to my partner Pokemon as those Krabbies are blowing the bubbles and the music's playing. Ooh, yeah, that'll be just oomph. That has so much nostalgic feeling right there. The sound of the waves, right? Like I've never heard a video game do the sound of being on a beach as well as that game.
Sure.
And there's obviously a whole lot of other just amazing story stuff going on in that game. And a very good like play pattern that really like gets you in the feeling of like, oh, I'm a Pokemon. This is my daily life. But it's just a fantastic game, and I would run that one back in a heartbeat.
So, I did not own Pokemon Mystery Dungeon, but I got to play it on my brother's device or my brother's cartridge. Mm-hmm. But I've really enjoyed the DS version. For me, this is kind of a hard question. One, because I hold KOTOR kind of sacred. Like, KOTOR is kind of like one of those games that I don't even know if it gives me nostalgia. Like, because I'm so reverent for it. So that's not my answer. Like, I actually think that's just... I think, like, KOTOR should be, like, in a museum of just... This is revolutionary for gaming. One of the best games ever made. And... So, I don't know, it just doesn't give me nostalgia feelings. The games that give me, like, nostalgia are N64 games. I actually loaded up 1080 on an emulator and got to play it on my new, I can't say it because it's white, but on my new Hyperkin Admiral Bluetooth controller. And I don't know if you guys know what 1080 is if you're listening, but it's like a 64 snowboarding game. It is not even close to like a great snowboarding game by, the standards of some of the snowboarding games that came out for like the Xbox or the PlayStation 2. But
heck, I even like the GameCube ones.
Yeah. Oh yeah, sure. But when that opening sequence happens, when it's like 1080, I just was like lost my mind. I was like, oh my gosh, I used to play this game so much. The other ones are like.
I feel like it's so. I was just gonna say, I feel like it's so easy to like video games these days, like, and just things in general, like skip a lot of these steps, right? Like, we're gonna have like the same feelings about like video game intros that you like had to sit through every time or didn't even want to skip, that like we joke about with like VHS commercials or
it's so
DVD
funny.
menu screens.
I love the VHS commercials. I didn't hate them as a kid, and now people are like, why would you watch those? I was like, I don't know, they were great, man. Got me hyped for another movie.
Yeah, like, you're like, oh yeah, this one's great. Let me sing along to this one too, right?
Yeah.
Especially the Disney movie ones, because it's all just looping back in on itself.
Yeah. The thing though is like Super Mario 64 is really high up there for me because I think every kid who had a 64 put in, infinity hours on that game. But for me, it wasn't actually until we were recording this podcast, but I think that when I did my video for Zoid's Legacy on this YouTube channel, I think that's actually just one of the best video games ever made. And a lot of it is nostalgia from watching Zoids as a kid. And, taking my love for... It was this thing where, like, it took my love for anime and for a specific couple of animes, and it combined it all into one thing and gave me a whole new story in a turn-based RPG. It was the best. Like I even today when I play that game, I'm just like, this is the best.
Was Zoids a 4Kids show?
Zoids was on Toonami, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, okay.
So I think you had to have cable to watch it.
Yeah, I'm just like trying to figure out because like obviously I watched a lot of Mechas as a kid. I'm just trying to figure out if it's one that I did see or not.
All I'm saying is I wouldn't recommend checking YouTube to see if all of Zoid's Chaotic Century and Zoid's I'm trying to remember the name of the other one, the two that were on whatever, were completely on there 100%. But if you wanted to watch them, you could do that on YouTube, allegedly. I'm not sure. I don't know. I would never consume media that way. I certainly would never do that for the Digimon the movie episode, but you maybe could. I don't know. Maybe. But yeah, Zoid's Legacy would be another one for me as well. But also like the Dragon Ball Z Legacy of Goku games. I actually remember we were on a road trip and my mom wanted me to shut up in the car. So we stopped at a media play and she just said, pick out any game you want for your Game Boy Advance to play on this road trip. And I picked Dragon Ball Z Legacy of Goku, the original. I had the little light for my Game Boy. I had extra batteries sitting next to me for my Advance. And I just beat that game on a road trip. And, while the original Legacy of Goku does not hold up as a good game, the sequels all do. They're all amazing. I just did a review for Legacy of Goku 2. I think it's on the YouTube channel. And I plan to do a review for Boost Fury this year. And those games just bring me a pretty insane amount of nostalgia just from, like I said, that freedom to game. Is there something that brings this back for us? Like a game that gives you the feeling that you think you've lost? And on these, Wes, I was talking about new games. Like, there are new games that do this for you. But I think that we have different answers for this.
Hey, half of mine were that way.
That's okay. But I think that yours did that when they came out as well, for what it's worth. Like, even, yeah. So first of all, I'll go first. And Star Wars Fallen Order, Jedi Jedi Fallen Order? I don't remember the name of it right now off the top of my head. But that game was shocking to me. One, because EA had just laid a bunch of eggs in a row. Like, EA, I don't know if those who are listening know, but EA just lost its exclusivity contract for Star Wars. So they will no longer be the only developer making Star Wars games. Are you doing short hops right now?
Not short hops, but yes. I am currently touching a GameCube controller.
I'm going to lose my shit on you. I'm gonna kill you.
I'm not. No, I don't have the game up. Don't worry, I do not have the game up. I'm literally just holding it. I'm feeling super like ADD right now. Like
okay.
Hands will not sit still.
Okay.
I've been tying knot for most of the episode.
Just mute. Do you have a mute button? You have it literally attached to your microphone. To your thing is a mute switch.
I'm sorry, Spencer.
It's okay. Just flick it. You can do that. Just mute yourself. I'm going to start over. Jedi Fallen Order really did that for me this year. It was really able to give me the feels again when it comes to Star Wars. And the thing is like, obviously for me, Star Wars is always going to give me that nostalgic feel. Like, I remember so vividly the first time I watched these films, but it allowed something really different for me. The way that, in all honesty, the way that KOTOR did this for me. Like, I think that Jedi Fallen Order is in, like, my top favorite games of all time now. And I just wasn't expecting that from EA after they laid so many eggs with Battlefront 2, with Battlefront, with just everything that they did with Star Wars, to the point where they no longer have exclusive contracts, and Ubisoft gets some of this now. I'm really stoked for it. But it really took this thing, and it captured my love for Star Wars RPG games in a different way than I'm used to. It made me learn a new style of video game, that Dark Souls style of gaming that I really appreciate. Like, it let me love something new through an IP that I love, through a genre that I love. And it really brought back those nostalgic feels for me. The next one that I want to say is Dragon Ball Z Kakarot. I am not even close to done with this game. I don't know how long this game will take me, because it literally follows the entire Dragon Ball Z anime story, as well as DLC that follows the Super story. And also, if you have never watched Dragon Ball Z and want to experience the anime, please play this video game first, because I believe that it is a better way to experience the show than the show is. And that is my hot take on that game. But it gives me nostalgia for both.
You should also just read Dragon Ball Z if you're going to do that.
I've never read a manga. I've never read a manga.
Well, you know the trope of DBZ being a lot of episodes of just screaming as your power increases?
To be fair, that is why I love the video game, and I think that people should experience it that way.
Yeah, manga sidesteps it as well.
I mean, so does Dragon Ball Z Kai. Dragon Ball Z Kai literally just fixed that issue when it was released. But Dragon Ball Z Kakarot is... Have you played this, by the way, Wes? Actually, now that I'm thinking about this, you would love this game. Do you like Dragon Ball Z?
Yeah, as much as anyone who's an anime nerd.
Yeah, maybe when I get a new Xbox, I'm going to hand you my Xbox One in this game. Because I think you'd love it. And then last is Pokemon XY. And I want to talk about this one for just a minute. I did not play Black or White, and I did not play Black or White 2. I became an adult during Diamond and Pearl, and just kind of was ready to do other things. I was playing a lot of basketball. I was on an airsoft team, and just kind of was done with most video games. I was playing a lot of Madden and stuff like that. And so Pokemon took a backseat for me a little bit. And, as I got older, I just kept hearing about Pokemon XY when it came out. And straight up, I literally bought a Game Boy 3DS or a Nintendo 3DS to play this game, and it was it might be in contention. I mean, it is in contention for my favorite Pokemon game of all time, and not because. I mean, it gives you all the factors of the nostalgia that you have for the original Pokemon games. Gives you massive quality of life upgrades. Has the same dorky, ridiculous story that you expect from a Pokemon games. To the point where, like, the villains in Pokemon are so ridiculous. And this one just takes it and makes them French, which is great. And
oh, he's so over the top, like fabulous.
It's
like
so great. And it introduced, and then also at the same time, like, it brought so many people back into the anime because the animes for XY and XYZ were so freaking good compared to previous adaptations. Like,
they actually have the rules of Pokemon. It's so nice.
I don't know what happened with Pokemon during the X and Y time frame, but I was just like, oh no, like this is it. This is what I want from Pokemon. And it made me love Pokemon again. I was out. I was never gonna play another Pokemon game. And I'm like, I hated Sun and Moon to the point where I didn't even buy Ultra Sun and Moon. But you know, I loved X and Y. I loved Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire. That one wasn't a hard sell though, for what it's worth.
I mean, I was expecting it to be as good as the previous remake of Pokemon game, and unfortunately, it did not live up to my expectations. But mine, I literally had one expectation, maybe two expectations, and they were not there.
I don't know. I thought it was good. Anyway, those are mine. Those are the ones that, like, if there are games of recent memory for me that, like, brought me that nostalgia, it's those three.
Sure.
What about you?
So for me, I think that I'm going to start with the first game that was clearly like a game designed to capture my nostalgia, and that was Pokemon Heart Gold Soul Silver.
Can we pause for my hot take? Because I'm gonna drop one here, and I want your opinion on it, West.
You don't want to save it for our Heart Gold Soul Silver episode that we're going to do in a month?
No, I'm gonna drop it here, but we'll talk about it in depth on that one. Heart Gold Soul Silver has the best sprites and sound of any Pokemon game for the Pokemon, and it's not even close. Yeah,
that's not a hot take. You don't have to convince me on that one.
I mean, I know I don't have to convince you, but that game is peak. It's so crisp. It works perfect on the DS. I don't know. It's something. Anyway, keep going. I just want to drop my hot take.
I mean, it was a masterpiece. But
where's your
some
walker?
Things that I think it does specifically. I think I lost it years ago. There could be this. I could still actually just straight up have the Pokemon Walker. I do. I still have a Pokemon Walker.
There's one in the case.
Which, by the way,
that's too funny, man. We had to pause the episode for editing reasons, but you have a Pokemon Walker in that case.
Yeah,
that's too funny.
The Pokemon Walker was a sweet design, by the way. Like, and the reason why is not that it was in and of itself like good gameplay, good experience, but that it was the same way like when Pokemon Go first started being a thing, and you just like saw other people playing Pokemon Go out in public. That was like a fun little connective thing. It was that, right? Like that social element of like seeing another person in real life and saying like, "Oh, you like and are playing Pokemon? What Pokemon do you have on you right now?" It's such a cool idea.
Yeah,
that was a really great part of it because the most important part about like the reason there's been two versions of Pokemon forever was so that way, in order to beat the game, in order to collect all the Pokemon, you had to have a friend,
right?
Who has
rich
the other
parents.
Game. And the idea of well, yes, but the idea of buying both was not just like how Magic the Gathering buying singles was not the original design intent. Buying two copies of the game was not the original design intent of Pokemon. It was finding a friend and trading with them.
I was really lucky as a kid. I happened to have blue, and my best friend happened to have red. Like it wasn't designed that way. It just happened to break that way.
But so Heart Gold Soul Silver was a game that I now feel very nostalgic about, but back then was also summoning a ton of nostalgia because Gold and Silver were just like the better of the Pokemon games I'd played as a kid. Like Ruby and Sapphire were great. I enjoyed them a lot. But like Gold and Silver, because you got to go back through Kanto, which already in itself has that nostalgic like vibe to it, right? We're going back where we've been. Is so good. And
So-
then you layer over it just this masterful redesign of the whole thing. This 100% quality of life upgrade from Gen 4 mechanics. And cannot be understated, a Pokemon following around behind you as just like the cherry on top that is just so good.
I have a Nidoran following me around right now in Soul Silver, by the way, and the fact that it's like this little tiny Nidoran, I really get a kick out of. You know,
You have a word following you around. That's fun.
you know what's funny is I actually really love Nidorino. It's actually just like one of my favorite Pokemon, and you can't use it because of how good Nidoking is. But like, yeah.
Yeah. It's so sad. So sad.
I
One of my
was just gonna say that I love that this and some others we'll get to on your list are I don't know, they feed into one of your great loves. I actually really love that you love Pokemon. So many people get made fun of for the things like they're like, oh man, he's just a Pokemon nerd, or he's just, I've been called a Magic nerd in my life, or a Yu-Gi-Oh nerd, or I love that you love Pokemon. Like, I love the Turtwig behind you. I love the cases of your Pokemon games behind you. I don't think there's anything wrong with loving stuff. I mean, obviously, I've got 3 lightsabers behind me, so like, I obviously have my vices, but I think that loving things that bring you joy is like really cool, and I love your dedication to them, and I just want to say that.
Well, and it goes deeper than that. Heart Gold, Soul Silver, the competitive scene for Pokemon, that was the first Pokemon competitive scene I learned. Like I researched, I spent hundreds of hours breeding and training Pokemon in that game. Like I have biked through Goldenrod City more times than I could possibly imagine. And same music every time. Because I never bothered to just go to and it was always the bicycle music because it's the bicycle music.
I was gonna say it doesn't even matter. It doesn't. No, because when you change cities, you don't keep the bicycle music, right? You get the new music.
Maybe.
I think you do.
Yeah, but like also that's the music that's nostalgic for me right there. The
Sure.
Heart Gold Soul Silver bicycle music is just. But my next game on my list was from earlier last year, early 2020. Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Rescue Team DX was obviously another smash grab for my nostalgia, as again incredible redesign and quality of life improvement with amazing improvements to the look and sound and feel of the game, of the original Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Rescue Team Red and Blue, which are other games I love from my childhood. And that was really fun, a really good time. And then the final game I have, I think no one's going to question that this game is undoubtedly about nostalgia. But Super Smash Bros. Is a game that's just designed from head to toe to evoke nostalgia at every moment because it's about playing as your favorite characters from other video games. It's about experiencing that music, that world, and now it's iterative, right? Now that we're in subsequent, right? In N64, it was supposed to be nostalgic, right? Now in Smash Ultimate, we're nostalgic for previous Smash games, right? Which are in and of themselves nostalgia games of other games. And like, I just love that huge mess that is of nostalgia because it's all that.
I don't know. I agree. I think that when you look at the Byleth reveal for me, like I had just completed that game that I loved. It was like it was easily my favorite game of that year. And the Byleth reveal, I was like, oh yeah, this could be my new main. Like this is what I want to do. And that's really cool. I know that for me, like part of picking the characters that I want to play in Smash has to do with a lot of it had to do with my connection to them. Right, the first character that I really loved was Link, and I love Zelda games. That the next character that I loved. Fortunately, K. Rool is one of them. I don't really have a connection to K. Rool, but that's just a sweet character. But I don't know, like Samus for me, like Samus. The reason I can play Samus in Smash is because I played Samus in Smash 64.
This is a great time for you to tell us of our nerd fact of the week, Spencer.
I don't have one.
Oh,
I do have one. I skipped it. Did you guys know, by the way, that the reveal of Samus was a surprise? Like the fact that Samus was revealed to be a female bounty hunter was like one of the biggest surprises in gaming history. You played that entire first game without knowing that you were playing as a female, and I love that. I love the break.
Think of all the complaining that didn't get to happen because of that choice.
Oh man. I'm so glad we got to talk about this topic. I think that gaming and the nostalgia that we have for gaming, I said this I think a couple weeks ago, but like love what you love, fam. If you're listening to the show and you love Madden and you love NCAA football and or whatever it is that you love, just love it. That's okay. Don't let other people tell you what to love, how to love it, or that you're not a real gamer for. It was so funny. I'm gonna go off on a little tangent. A couple weeks ago, or months ago at this point, 2020 was a weird year, fam. I saw this post from Facebook that this person is like, real gamers. You're not a real gamer if you love Mario and mention a few other things. You got to play on hard mode. FPS is like real gamers, or like League of Legends stuff. Competitive gaming is the one to do. Real gaming.
Now I'm thinking of.
And it's so funny to me, by the way, because it's like if you like Mario, you're not a real gamer. Like what are you trying? Mario, the like mascot of gaming, you're not a real like. Just love what you love. That's okay. If you like gaming, you get some happy feels from gaming. Go do it. I'm so excited for Pokemon Snap, West.
I'm gonna sit on a Yoshi.
Heck yeah. Do you have a giant Yoshi? I might get you one now. Do you just have a Yoshi you can ride around your house?
Make Yoshi into a Pokemon. Hashtag.
Ooh.
Hashtag make Yoshi a Pokemon.
That'd be sick if that was
Yoshi
like
is a Pokemon.
If they just dropped a Yoshi Pokemon into the universe.
That's the crossover we deserve.
It really is, though. It really is. Thank you, everybody, so much for listening this week. If you want to find me, you can find me at Spencer13H. You can find West at East_monotone with 2 N's. You can find the show at Need to Nerd Pod. Give us a like, give us a sub. If you're listening on a podcast platform, make sure to leave us a review. It really does help the show out. We'll see you guys all next week. I actually should know what the topic is for next week and give a little spoiler for it. Maybe I'll add that to the show notes, but I'm not looking at it. But we will see you guys all next week, where I think we're doing Good Place 4 for what it's worth.
Sweet.
If we're not, I'll just change it to that. And yeah, get ready for my tears because I didn't cry this episode. I didn't cry on the nostalgia episode, Wes. What do you think of that?
I mean, I don't cry that much from the video games I'm that nostalgic for. I just think it's about something else.
Sure. Well, thank you everybody so much, and we'll see you guys all next week.
Is Bowser the fully evolved version of Squirtle?
What does that make Giga Bowser? Is he the Mega Evolution of Squirtle? Of Browser?
Warp Digi evolution of Squirtle.
We'll never know.